So good morning, everybody. Let me just introduce myself quickly. My name is Saeed Molavi. I born in 1978. Actually, this month is my birthday. My university background is mechanical engineering. So when I got graduated, I start working in automotive industry for 5 years, and I was actually engineer to convert the engines from petrol to biofuels using natural gas. But after 5 years, I decided to leave, and I joined oil and gas industry. From the beginning, I started as the well completion engineers, and I've been in different positions since I joined the company, which is 14 years. As a field engineer, project engineer, sales and marketing, design, and management position. So I received these three basically questions from you guys that you want to discuss about it. So this is not one-day presentation. Please stop me if you have questions. If there is any discussion, bring it up. We can talk about it. And so one of the question was, how did you improve your leadership skills, and how do you interact with your people to use their full potential? And also the key for the being considered as the leader position. So one thing came to my mind that it's good to share with you. It's a story of mine. Let's say it's about 10 years ago. So in 10 years ago, I was in the position of like a completion operation manager. It was 2010. And I had a team of a few people. And I also was reporting to the country manager. So the country manager was responsible for the whole company's operation for that country. And we had different departments for completions, well testing, wireline, drilling, and so on. So it was my first management position, and I was quite young and not much of experience in interacting with the management position. And luckily or unfortunately, I had a manager. The country manager was very unique in terms of some personality that I can explain some more. This guy was a driver, I would say, kind of dictatorship. He wouldn't listen to anybody. He actually pushing the employees, using them, not collaborating. So it was very hard to work with this guy. Sometimes we got, into so many unimportant matters like I don't know, template of the format of the letters instead of talking about the strategy of our planning, how we can expand the business, how we can improve the efficiency of operations. So it was very different, and but it was very challenging for me because at the same time I had a group of people, as an operation team, that I had to lead and to make sure I achieve all my objectives. So instead of fighting with the guy, with the manager, I decided to take this as the opportunity, and I started monitoring this guy's behavior because we had lots of issues. Not only me, this guy was quite rude to the other managers, to the team, even the customer clients. But it was very interesting that for me that this guy was in the position of management with all this attitude. So I started monitoring all this behavior and to see how I can, stay away from those issues, focus on my job, and same time I lead my team. And at the end, we get a good result. We achieve all the objective that we need. So to compare This kind of management with proper leadership, or I would say the modern term of my leadership in nowadays that we can see in every companies is developing. I want to highlight few points. There are lots of different style of management or leadership, and some of them might be correct. For example, if it is in army, the army leader and the soldier, they need to one person needs to make decision, give an order, and the rest needs to obey. So that's a style for army, and sometimes is needed to be like that. Let's say the police officer cannot be friend or have a very nice attitude to the thieves or criminals. So there should be a way that the thieves or criminals should be afraid of the police. So the leading in different work environment is different. But now we are, just because all of you are SP members and we are working oil and gas industry, so it's a industrial environment, and all of you are engineers or specialists, so it's a different style. So the leadership is not a position. So leadership is the quality. There are some personality, quality, and skills that you need to learn to be able to manage your team in the best way. So I just wanted to compare the proper leadership or leader versus the boss. So the boss, I can refer to my old manager that I had 10 years ago. So this guy drives the employee. The true leader or great leader, instead of that, they coached it. Coaching the team, it helps them to learn to get competent, and then they can carry on. But driving employee, it means you give an order and they should follow, and there is no other deviation, and they cannot suggest anything, and there is no improvement, and just straightforward. The other thing is, the boss type of management, they actually looking to terrify the employees, and they inspire fears in the employees. So if they do something that you're afraid of your manager, this is what they want. But instead, the leader needs to basically generate enthusiasm, which is completely different. So you basically motivate your employee to work better, to achieve better goals, and they enjoy their job actually. Yeah, boss always says I, but leader says we, because the achieving those goals and objectives is not only for the leader. So it's not for the boss. I mean, it's for the whole team. And of course, this is very obvious. I think boss always blame on the people. Oh, this is a failure because of you guys. You didn't do your job properly. But instead, the leader, you should not blame on the personal directly. If there is any failures, if there is any issue in the work, there are so many other things when you do, for example, investigation, that you find out sometimes the procedure is not perfect, or there are some rules in the system that needs to be modified. There are lots of other things that you can be corrected before you get to the human error, that like a true mistake from the person. Even if it is from the person, we are not robot. We are human. Sometimes, I mean, actually, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody fails and breaks, but we need to learn from those. So yes, the boss knows how it is done. He doesn't share how actually you guys need to learn to get to the solution. But the leader, true leader, shows how you can get it done, how you do it. So leader teach you how to do it. Boss actually tells you what to do. Yes, and obviously the boss uses the people, but leader develops people. So train people, development of the people is very different from using. Using, it means it assumes the people are just like tools, asset, and they just use them to generate money. And this is especially in our field of like oil and gas industry, this doesn't work. And yes, the boss take the credit if there is any success. Always takes the credit for himself or herself. but the leader gives the credit. So whoever works better, whoever achieves the objective, praise it, raise it up, and then encourage the people. Boss commands, orders to the employee what to do, what not to do. Leader asks. So this respect and the way of communication is very different from leader and the boss. Yeah, so the boss says go, but the leader says let's go. So the leader take himself as a part of the team, not something separate, as I said, as a tool or something that they should work on. The boss stays at site and then drive them. So these are some of the big difference between being boss and the leader. So on the previous example, I tried to monitor my basically manager, and I actually learned a lot of things. I took that as opportunity. Not only didn't annoy me, but even motivate me to learn more or dig more into detail of the personality, quality of the leadership, how we can improve myself, and how I can help the operation team. So one of the things I've done was I looked at my team because I just, let's say in 2010, I got to the country and everybody was new for me. So the team, I started talking to them and I found out there is a huge gap of technical competency among the team. One of the main reasons that we couldn't perform well in that location was because of the personnel need to be trained, developed. So I did a plan for training and development of the people in my team, and actually it went very well. Every week we used to go through lots of different manuals, books, training slide presentations, and it helped them a lot to develop their technical skills. And after a while, they could manage each part of the operation by themselves without coming back to me. So in the beginning, because they couldn't do much of the work, every time they should come to me, okay, what should I do? What I need? How this should be done? But after a couple of months of training, they become kind of a standalone, and they could manage their work in a much better manner. So the time or period that I was in that position was 2.5 years, and at the end, the result was perfect. I actually implemented a lot of things that I learned from my country manager, and actually made them opposite way. So whatever bad behavior or rude or how to say bad manner he was doing, I was making opposite way. I was trying to get close to my team. I was always honest with them, explain the future of their career, their work, how they can get trained, how they can develop themselves, how they can even enjoy the job, and all those things. And it creates a very strong bond between me and the team. So as I said, the type of leadership in different industry, different environment is different. But in oil and gas, I personally experienced this, and I really found out that the type of boss is not working in oil field. Because we are dealing with engineers, with specialists, the operators, so people that are technically competent, they understand very well. They don't need really anybody push them or insult them or kind of command them to do something. They just can do things much better. And not only that, because they were involved with lots of different aspects of the work, they always, because the communication established very well between us, and they come up with some improvement idea, and we could improve the efficiency of our work, reduce the service quality, and lots of other things that it was actually initiated from the team itself, not from me. I just wanted to, in this slide, to go through some of those quality that I really think that is really good if you want to improve your leadership skills, or qualities. These are the main things that you need to focus on. And I can just briefly tell some example. What are the way that you can improve? So one of the main one is the communication. I think the communication is one of the essential in leadership. The way you communicate to your team, that you talk to the team about your plan, the objectives, process, the more clear you talk to them and they can understand, you get a better result at the end. And it's both ways. So communication is not that you talk and they just listen. You need to listen to your team, listen to the new idea, and assess them, process them, and use it in your work. So this is a both way communication, not only to your team. This is communication to your top management and actually lateral to your other department and your customer. So communication is around you, from your team, your management, your customer, and these are the things that you use it at your normal or daily life, at home, at family, and every other places too. So this good communication can develop and align all the activity and resources with priorities for your work, which is very important, I think. Inspiration, yeah, of course, the great leader create the like a very good vision. What is going to be your future? So when I was talking to my team, I was explaining, if you learn all these skills or competency, what's going to be in your future, opportunity for your future, the other position, promotion to the higher grades, even increasing in the salary, and the achievement of the goals and objectives. And all of this motivates the employee because now they have clear understanding, if they do more work, what they're going to achieve. This is very quite important because motivation and being motivated in a team is one of the important keys for the employees, for the team. Positivity. So everybody needs to understand the positivity is very strong. Can you imagine if your manager comes to work and always blaming, nagging and complaining about a lot of things, issues, situations. So this negativity goes through the team and bring down the spirit of the team. So always keep positive. Even though, as I said, I had a very tough manager. He was challenging me a lot, but I always keep myself positive. And actually, it was surprised him why I'm actually behaving like this, because he was very rough and tough on me, and not only me, the other manager too. But I was taking that as the learning curve. So I was trying. It was like a game for me, how I can overcome all this issue, how I can challenge him back in the respectful manner, and how at the same time I can achieve all my objective within my team. Honesty and transparency. It is very important because if you're not honest with your team, with your employee, they cannot trust you. You always need to have a very crystal clear, conversation, talking. I know some of the leaders, some of the managers, they are not very honest with the team because sometimes they have some objective. If they tell the full story to the employee, they become afraid if the employee doesn't do the job the way they want. But I believe if you're honest and transparent with your team, tell them everything that they need to know, it helps them. It helps the team to understand the situation and help you to get out of the problem. And the strengthening the trust between the leader and the team is one of the results for honestly being direct with the team. Problem solving. So yes, all those quality that I mentioned is good, but you always need to think of a solution because every day there are some new problems come to the table and you need to think about it. You need to find a solution for that. And of course, you need to learn from the mistakes. Expertise. Can you imagine if your manager or leader doesn't have any clue about the technical part of your operations or the work, can you really trust that guy? So always keep in mind you need to build your own technical and professional skill. So develop yourself, study. Uh, Actually, what you're doing at the moment, it's very good because you join one conference call just about the leadership skills, and that means you're looking for learning something new, develop your skills. So this is very good. Always look for developing your abilities, your expertise, and whenever you are very competent, you have a very valuable person in your team that everybody can trust and rely on you. So this is kind of important to make sure that the people around you relying on you. Yeah, creativity. So one of the things that it can differentiate you from the others. Uh, of course, there are, as I said, there are always new problems, always something unexpected happen. So the ability that you think outside of the box is very important. Let's say the people, let's say for this COVID-19, and they predicted in few months, and they did some planning to save their company, and they lots of other things that it never expected in the past. But they need to think about it, find a solution for those, and use those creativity to come up with the solution. And in a daily work, so people get used to the normal daily work, but I believe always there are some rooms for improvement. So the process, the procedures, the way you're working. So always think about the different way. How can I improve this? How can I work more efficient in these sections? How can my employee communicate better? What are the way I can save the time? Lots of ability to improve the work. The flexibility, yes, like actually roughly actually pretty much mentioning about it in creativity, but flexibility is always needed to be ready to make the changes. Let's say you're designing a well or drilling program, suddenly just a last minute change, somebody from production team call you, oh no, cannot target this part of reservoir, all the drilling plan is going to be changed, and you don't have much of time to react. So you need to be flexible and think about overcome and challenge them. Delegation. Some people, they cannot. It's very hard for them to delegate the task to the others. Some of the manager, they like to do all the jobs by themselves, and when the workload is increasing, there are lots of activities, lots of tasks. Definitely one person or as a leader cannot look after all those things. So the good leader needs to learn a way how to distribute the workload, delegate the task to the different without micromanagement. So micromanagement is something that destroys the the flow and let them work and come back with the result. But at the same time, you need to monitor them. So delegation is not you actually ask somebody to design a drilling, but every day you should be on top of his head or her head, just see and check what he's doing, what she's doing, if it is correct or not. So let them work, but you need to monitor and control them as the big scope of work. Mentoring, that was the first thing I did when I joined the new location. I actually did the evaluation on the capability or the competency of my team, and I actually see what are the weakness, strength, and I started to do some planning for their training and coaching, and it was very helpful because that reduced lots of other loads from other works that I can easily delegate to them and ask them to follow. This is quite essential. So apart from those skills or qualities, there are a few things I wanted to mention here: objective and goal orientation. So you need to know what is your objective and the goal for your work. For example, you are the workshop leader working in one oil and gas industry manufacturing center or plant, that you are assembling some of the tools, testing, function testing. So this is your objective, that to assemble those equipment in the timely manner, with no damage, no failure, and of course no HSE issue. So always keep those objectives in your head running all the time, because sometimes we get involved with so many other details that it deviates us from the main objective. The same way I told you about my direct manager. So one of the challenge that he had, he was very sensitive about the format of the template of the letter that we communicate to clients, which is not really important. So the message, the wording, the what we're going to communicate to clients is important. Even those communication could be through the phone, very easy. But he was very sensitive just for the template of the letter. So we need to always keep the objective in our mind, not to get deviated from those. And time to time, they might even change. So you need to be flexible. Once anything is changing, you need to change your objective as well. Time management. So you need to uh, deliver basically those objectives in a timely manner. Make sure your team members following the process that are within the a certain time that is designed for that task, and you need to monitor that. Decision making is one of the important skills for the good leaders. So sometimes it becomes very difficult because you have different options to make decision, but you don't know which one is the best or perfect. But what you can do, you can do a very quick evaluation and review the pros and cons of every selection of options, and then make a decision. And that decision is based on all your assumptions from uh, your impression or your thought about the work. It doesn't mean that always is correct, but you need to do your best to select or make a decision of the best option. But if some of the abilities, some people are actually very difficult for them to come to conclusion and make decision, even though they can compare easily in a systematic matter the how what are the advantage or disadvantage of each option. But decision making is something you need to practice. Lead by example means um, you need to do whatever you actually telling to your team. So it means if you smoking cigarette, you cannot tell your kids, oh, cigarette is very bad, don't smoke. So you need to be lead by example. It means you need to do the same thing that you tell or asking your team to do. And the other thing is, I think, is the last one is monitoring the team performance. So of course, you have good communication. You mentoring, you coaching your team. You have creativity. Every plan is in a place, but you also need to monitor the performance in a good way that you can improve. So time to time, you need to change some of the process, some of the procedure. By monitoring and auditing the team performance, you can achieve those. So I guess that's my presentation. If anybody have questions, we can go back and talk about those.
Thank you, Saeed, for the presentation. Guys, have you any questions?
So, Said,
Yep.
what do you think? How should good manager motivate his team, his people?
So motivation, it doesn't come from one way or another. So as I said, by being transparent and honest with them and show them what is the future of their job, how they can develop themselves, and if they work harder or do extra stuff, or when they train themselves, what are the position, what are the opportunity that is going to be open for them in future, that motivates them. The other thing is time to time, and we need to learn how to encourage and praise employee for the good working. It's even very obvious from the small children. So when you like anybody like a children making mistakes, if they straight and very quick get punished, blamed, they lose actually their spirit, their motivation. But there are lots of other ways to, when they even do some small things, they can encourage them. And if they make a mistakes, they can help them to get out of the trouble, get out of the problem, and show them how to fix it. So this is not only one way or two that you can motivate your people, basically, but there are lots of different ways. So you need to first understand your team. If you understand the personality, get close to them, you can find a way for them to basically improve even help them for improving their lifestyle, like a personal life. It doesn't really need to be only related to training or the work for the work that they do. Because if they have a good balance of life, they can work better at the office or on offshore as well.
Thank you, Saeed.
Yes, Said.
Gilustan wrote in the chat, thank you, Saeed. You are the best example of being leader.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. This
so,
is not me. I mean, the team that we have in Azerbaijan actually really good. I've been working in different places, I don't know, different countries, Russia, Malaysia, my country, and the team of Azerbaijan, which I'm more than about 1.5 year, is excellent. The way they communicate or helping each other, cooperating to get job done is perfect. Is very good. I'm really enjoying working with the guys in Azerbaijan.
okay, Khadija has a question. Khadija, please.
So, hello Saeed, hello everyone. So, thank you for presentation. So, I have one question. In case of some conflicts in your team, does the compromise can solve this conflicts, or there is other way to solution?
Can you be more specific? Yeah, of course, your team is consists of different people, and every person has a different personality. So yes, even myself, I had some issue, like in my previous job assignment. We had some drilling completion team, and we have some production team and the reservoir engineering. Sometimes their objective was against each other. So the production and the reservoir engineering team do something that it was not good for the completion drilling. And completion drilling wanted to always to go through the easy way, not to failure, process. So these objectives were against each other. And of course that affects the total organization achievement. Because if the two teams or even two team members are against each other, that's destructive. So you need to find the common way between those. Probably if there is any miscommunication, misunderstanding between the team, it's very easy just to bring up the subject, talk to them first one by one, and to see what are their issue. Because some of them might have a reason that you don't know, and that might be really valid. But when it comes to the work, that become conflict between the team members. So these are the skills that you need to basically practice it to understand. So I cannot tell like a formula or something that it works for everything, but understanding of the problem from every team member is quite important. So communication, as I said, is very important factor. You need to communicate to them, to understand and listen to them, and find a solution that it can link these two in a common things that it can improve the business or improve the work. And of course, I mean, there are sometimes, some conflicts, some challenges between some of the employees. You talk to someone and comes to some argument. So this is natural, but we need to find the way to get the best out of what we can do. If you have more specific things, like an example that what happened, yeah, I can help on that more.
Yeah, thank you. I have one more question. How you can understand other people and take how they perceive you in your turn?
Can you repeat your question again?
So, I mean, in your team, how you can understand other people and how they perceive you in return. So, are they sincere with you or just as a mask? So, how we can understand these types?
Okay, so yeah, so this is quite important. I mean, the way you understand your teams is not very straightforward. Yes, if you talk to the team and you have understanding that, yes, let's say you tell them something to do or the way they're working, and without enough discussion, they say yes, I follow, I do it, but in their heart they don't believe that they should follow that.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very important to penetrate and understand what is inside them. Not only, when I say communication is not just talking. Communication is understanding. So understanding is not easy as just you talking directly to someone. So there are lots of other factors. Actually, I can give you one example. We had one employee, and he was very smart guy, very competent, experienced, very sharp, young guy. So he changed his position, and I was talking to him, and I actually had a feeling he has so much issue at the background, not only in the work. So he doesn't show those issues in the work, daily work, but I could feel and I could see those actually bothering him and basically reduce the performance, reduce the efficiency and concentration for his new role or his new job. After a while, we start talking to him, and I clearly understood what are those things come from. I don't want to bring it into this subject, but after a while, all those issues caused him to leave the company. So understanding the people is very important, and find a way, talk to them, uh, just to find a solution for their issue is quite important.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Saeed. Anyone have another question? Yeah.
Sorry, actually, I have one question. Thank you, Said, for this presentation. I have a question. For example, your team faced with a deadline, and we don't have any extra time for some changing, and you, like a team leader, take the team members' task because you don't have any time under your responsibility. Is it right thing or wrong? Because the relationship between leader and your team member can be, let's say, weak or another thing. Yes.
So from what I understand is you have short of time to get something done, and
Yes.
the leader needs to act as the one of the team members to make sure the team achieve is actually um, destroying or shows the leadership basically relationship between the employees and the leader.
I mean, for example, you don't have any time for the explaining, for helping your team leader or team member, and you take his task under your responsibility.
Okay, so I mean, if you don't have any options, that's something you have to do. You have to do. But when we say leadership, it means you need to be flexible for the changes. As you said, there's always shortening the time, changing the plan. So one of the things in oilfield that we always have, we actually call it contingency plan. So yes, for example, you do completion installation, you have all the program, you have everything set up, but something goes wrong because this is the nature of operation. But if you have plan to react and actually overcome those complications, it means you have done your job right. If the time is short and you don't have enough time, it means the leader didn't do perfect planning and predict that they need more load work or the resources. So those are things can be actually a lesson learned for that leader, how he can do all the planning and come up with the structure of the organization that if some unexpected increase in the workload or changing the deadline happens, that he can react and overcome from those. But of course, I mean, I believe if the team leader has to work as the team member for a short time to make sure the team achieves the objectives, no, there is nothing wrong with that. And he doesn't show that he's not a good leader. Actually, he shows he's a very good leader because he thinks and he feels himself or herself as a part of the team, and he joins the team to get to the objectives. But of course, that shows some things in the planning wasn't perfect. So for the next time, he needs to take another way of planning, processing to make sure it doesn't happen again. Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Saeed. Any another question?
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank you for such a great presentation. And my question is, what sources can you recommend to develop leadership skills? Maybe there are some special books or trainings, even YouTube channel maybe, which helped you to rise as leader.
So it's a good question. I don't have any reference book at the moment to tell you, but of course, even if you Google some of the books, as you just mentioned, the YouTube, there are lots of trainings for every of those skills because each skill is like a war. So communication is something different. Creativity, flexibility. So all those qualities might need, I don't know, a couple of hours of presentation from, I don't know, some of the clips in YouTube. And I'm sure there are some books that it goes through the whole leadership, but that, yes, unfortunately, I don't have actually anything to tell you now. Even this presentation, I just tried to put something together last night.
Okay, thank you.
So Said, everything that you actually I see how you interacting with people at work, and I'm really impressed to be honest. But I'm just curious that you learned all this from just experience. I mean, just by observing people, and as I understood, you're old boss, you were observing his actions and everything. Like, did you learn all of this just by observing them?
Yes, basically, this is just based on experience. I didn't take any class or course for leadership. But yeah, so I think the life itself is the best teacher. So as I just mentioned, I took that opportunity to observe my manager for 2 years of time, and I was one of the few of people that could survive 2 years with him. And it was interesting because he was very tough with everyone, including me, but at the same time he liked me. He liked me because I didn't give up. I didn't, take back and start continue with all the at the end, I achieved what I needed. But it was a very tough time. So maybe, I don't know, that period of time helped me a lot to go through all these kind of skills, improve it somehow. And practically, I could see it from my team. So the team that I have in that location, my office was in different city and the operation team was in another city. But because we had a very good connection with the team members. Even I knew if there is anything that has to be done, they will stay overnight, weekends, even without telling me, but because they just wanted to make things perfect as they like to have. So because of the respect between the team and the leaders, they wanted to get everything perfect. So if you basically driving your team and they're not motivated, even if you want to ask them, okay, can you stay another 1 hour extra time to complete this task for today? They are not really like to stay and do that, and they want to just go home as soon as possible. And even sometimes they say, okay, do you pay the overtime or something to me? But the team I had, because of good connections between me and them, they even didn't ask me, okay, is there any overtime? If there is anything that he can get more, they always do their best to get the work done in the best way. And of course, at the same time, I was trying to support them as much as I could. If there is any bonus, if there is any incentive, anything I could give to them for the good work, for the achievement of the work they had, I would do it. Yeah, so this is nothing that I learned it from any training course or anything. It's just the life. Life is the teacher.
I have one more thing that I was curious about. Like, that boss was a guy that was being put up on people and getting stuck with people that were things that were not that important. And but what about people? Have you come across people that are, like either manipulative or they're not being honest when they say they are, even when you're trying to talk to them to fix an issue? Like they just like they communicate but they're not being honest, so it's like not communicating at all at the same time. Like, I don't know if I could express it, but have you come across with people like this
You mean within the team or lateral department?
within the team, or it can be your manager, or it can
Yeah,
even be
so
someone that reports to you?
yeah, so of course, I mean, one of the key for that is if the leader is honest and straight and transparent with the employee. Actually, it was a very good example for me for that 2 years. Because I always see in the oil field people are very tough, very rough, insulting, swearing on the rigs, workshop. Uh, but the way I actually pursue was completely opposite, and I could see the respect is not only from me to them, and whatever I respect them, it comes back to me as well. So if I was transparent and honest to them, they become friend, but the friend in the manner that we don't cross the boundaries, because at the work I believe the work is work. We need to work, Friendship is something else, but the connection between the employee and understanding each other, it was helping me a lot. And actually, I was hearing so much news from them that I wouldn't see or hear from anybody else. One of the things that is very obvious is wrong, mistakes in pressure tests, steps, not falling properly, they're losing. Even there are cases like they're dropping the, let's say, wrench or something in the hole and just keep quiet and don't tell anybody. So I was so close to my team members that they were honestly and very openly transferring or telling me all the news or the information that I needed to have, which I'm sure none of my equivalent manager from other department could have a very detailed information. So yeah, transparency, but at the same time, I don't abuse those information to be against my team as well. Because if there is any issue, if there is any mistake, we need to do investigation and go back to happen. It's very bad if you start thinking as the first thing that the employee made a mistake. It might be from the procedure, it might be from the planning, even wrong decision from the leader, from myself. So there are lots of things that we need to think ahead and then try to fix it for the next time. Yeah, of course, failure happens. Nobody can reverse the time, but we need to learn from those mistakes. So this transparency between me and those guys make them to be same way to me. They respecting me, they're honest to me. Even they have some issues with the family, with the other team members from other groups, they just come and honestly telling me. And I didn't believe that it could be that strong, but in that 2 years of practice, actually I see this really working.
Thank you, Saeed. I also see like some of the things that you brought to our team in Azerbaijan, actually, like the lessons that you're having every Friday and everything. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all of you.
Thank you for the questions and for the presentations. Any other questions?
Yes, actually, I have one question that I remember. I would like to ask, what is a leadership style and which kinds of leadership styles exist, and how to define which kind of a leadership is convenient for you, suits you?
I think the style of the leadership, it depends on the environment that you're working in. So those examples that I brought to this presentation, it was kind of matching with oil and gas industry. As I mentioned, if you're, let's say, in the police army, or if you're like a soldier in the army, the way basically they leading the team is completely different. So this style with kind of leadership skills that is communicates, flexible, transparency, honestly, these are working in kind of environment in oil field very well. I don't know if that 100% is a solution for some others. But yeah, so it depends on what type of work you have.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. So you're also petroleum engineer?
Yes.
And working in BP, SOCAR?
No, I'm actually a student.
Student, you still study.
Third year.
So your organization is the university. Basically, in university, let's say you have a projects with your team members that you want to come up with some study. This is exactly solution that you need to pursue, this kind of leadership. So you cannot be like a bossy type that is like driving your other students or other team members. So the leadership is the difference between the games. So in the football match, in a football match, if the team members are not cooperating, if the coach is not connected and understand all the one by one team members, uh, they cannot achieve the objective or their goal as the winner. So this is very close example that in football game or basketball game, like a group games, the leadership is quite important. The leader of the team as well in the field as well.
So you're telling that leadership style depends on the kind of work what you do with your team, yes. So in this, using the specific way how to lead your team for achieving the goal.
Yeah, I mean the most of the organization, companies, university, sports, a lot of things is same way, same style, same way. But there are some other cases. Of course, you cannot be friend if, as I mentioned in the beginning, if you are a police officer and you managing the jail, you cannot be friend with the prisoners. You cannot make them, understand them. Okay, what is against you? This kind of leadership style is like in engineering, educated, organization like university, companies, oil field, other industries, even agriculture, other industries. So these are the case that it works with this type of leadership.
So, thank you, all participants, and Saeed for the presentation.
You're welcome. My pleasure to talk to
I
you.
hope today's session was useful to everyone. So,
I hope.
yeah, I think we can complete this session, and so
I'm sorry. Can I ask one last question?
Oh yeah,
Sure.
of course.
Welcome again. Thank you for the session. I usually have this question on my mind. So there are some natural born leaders, by which I mean that you have the natural charisma or the way you talk with people, and there are also some trainings that build some skills in you. So if you were to give them percentages, like how much one or the other is important, and kind of what the overall leadership consists of, what numbers would you give?
So I can give you a good example of mine. When I was in like a primary school or intermediate school, age of 7, 8 to 12, 13, I wasn't a sociable person at all. I always stay aside, kind of not joining the team, not even in the group playing. Even the sport I used to do was individual, like swimming, mountain climbing, biking, bicycle. So I barely, join any team of, in the group or the gaming team. And I was very quiet person. I wasn't talking at all. So when I was going to party with my parents, I wouldn't talk much. So I was this kind of personality. But when I finished, actually joined university, it started changing. I actually pushed myself to make a change in myself. So all I have is opposite my initial personality. So I try to learn all these communication skills, talking to the guys, understanding them. So I think pretty much if I give percentage, I would say 80% or 70% you can learn, and the rest is just your personality type.